most important thing which I want to tell you about him, when this problem came in from Trump to close the admission of all the 7 Muslim country residents who were here, my friend was the leading person who, you can say, he was leading the procession for all of us, for all the Muslim countries at Philadelphia airport. And he led that procession, and he was all the time, next what he did, he introduced a bill in the Congress that whoever was affected by this non-admission, they should be compensated, they should be given their jobs back, and they should be allowed to come back.
Ambassador to United States, Mr. Aizaz Ahmad Chaudhry, he is with
Congressman,
us.
nice to meet you.
You welcome
Please
us.
speak first. So please go ahead. No, I'm fine. I'll speak later. Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for that kind and long introduction. Known Akil for so many years, back when I served in the New Jersey legislature, and certainly for that time since I've been here in Washington. Well, you were in the gold room, which is much better than we had last year. And if things continue and we're successful, we'll have you back to the platinum room next year. And we'll be air conditioned. So we're working on that. But Mr. Ambassador, it's great to have you here at interesting times, not only in our country or our state of New Jersey, but the world as a whole. Obviously, there is a large issue going on in North Korea with our country, and as of yesterday, the Middle East is now starting to re-explode. But for the last 14 years, particularly in the Iraq-Afghanistan area, we have been in much conflict, which puts us to some of the questions that have been brought to me about the relationship of our two great countries. And the one thing that I've very much enjoyed hearing is about the diplomacy and having that conversation. It's easy to get into fights. We all know that. It is more difficult. It takes more courage to make the peace. That is something that I have been focused on. The two committees that I serve on primarily is education and the workforce, which deals with our entire system from kindergarten through college, and then the issues of dealing with the workforce to make sure people are paid well and are safe at jobs, and they have the dignity of taking care of their family. The other one happens to be the Armed Services Committee, where yesterday we spent close to 20 hours working up what they call the National Defense Authorization Act. It is that $1 bill a year that comes through, and we happen to have made it possible to spend $717 billion yesterday. I think that's even more than the paycheck that you get, isn't that? Maybe close. But there are two very different schools of thought when it comes to making sure that the money is well spent. I come from the position of a strong defense is not only important for security of yourselves, but security of your friends. And this is where Pakistan becomes so important in that region and as a world player. And that there's not a day that goes by that we're not having a discussion now about nuclear proliferation, whether it's North Korea, Iran. And you are part of the club that is very exclusive. But most importantly, you're part of that club that is trying to contain and make it for peace. Making it for peace is so important. So as we were doing some discussions and looking at, Malalia, who just returned, and it's indicative of some of the challenges that not only your country faces at times, but ours. You certainly know what it's like to live with terrorist activity. We do too. Whether it was Las Vegas, California, Florida. We all live under the threat. But the one thing that unites us is our love for not only our countries, but those of our family. We want to have a safe environment for our kids to grow up in, for our grandkids to grow up in. that they will have a world, that they can feel safe. Those challenges come before us each and every day, particularly when you're here in the Gold Room, in the Rayburn Building, with that symbol of democracy across the street called the United States Capitol. So, diplomacy has had its ups and downs over the last year or so with the new administration. Unfortunately, we have not put into place enough of our ambassadors to have what I consider a very complete diplomatic force to address issues. General Mattis, who is our Defense Secretary of Defense, said very importantly that if you're going to keep the diplomacy professionals out, then you better double my budget for bullets, because we're going to need it. I think we all understand that it's much easier, much more important to have a conversation with voices than with guns. So with that, I want to say thank you for coming here to Washington, our nation's capital, sharing what you understand your issues are. There was a very famous gentleman, Martin Luther King, who talked about the division that our country faced. In this case, it was race in many ways, but it was also poverty. And he said that we all came here on different ships, but we are in the same boat now. And that's the way I look at it when we're dealing with issues from around the world. This is our world collectively, and it's our obligation, it is our duty to keep it safe. Thank you very much.